Hi, I'm Pam Hayes from Hayes Sewing Machine Company, and welcome back to our creative videos. Today we're going to be doing a quilt that's called Hopscotch out of 3-yard quilts, and this particular one is done out of the Quilt Favorites. So the one I'm going to be doing is Hopscotch. And they did it in red, white, and blues, kind of, on this one. And we did it with a new fabric line that we have. So what's lovely is it's exactly the same block done in 2 different colorways. So it's very simple to piece, and let's get started. I'll show you how to do that. So when we're working with the block, that's what it's going to look like. So we're going to have 3 squares and then 2 rectangles on the side. So what we're going to need to do is to do this center section, okay, this guy here, we're going to take and we're going to put our strips together, and we are going to, I'm just getting my correct presser foot on. Alright, so we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam. We're going to line this up, and we're going to sew down, lining up our edges, and doing our 1/4 inch. So we're going to have, in this case, I have the light that's going to be in the center, with the yellow and the cream on the side. Alright, so I have center, and then whatever color you'd call that. It's a
gold.
Gold.
Goldenrod.
Goldenrod. There
That
you
sounds
go.
like a nice name.
Alright, so then we're going to go and we're going to place this on the other side. And we're going to line that up. They'll tell you you're going to be doing quite a few of this. You know, you're going to have a 1 full length, you know, with a fold. And then you're going to have one that's kind of a partial. Okay, so when I go to press this, I'm going to try to make sure that I'm pressing towards the dark. So I'm going to have those seams pressed out.
Okay. My brain is still on the color of the gold. I'm
Oh.
like, tropical banana.
Tropical banana, there you go, that sounds good.
Summer sunset. You know, these people who like are the ones that are responsible for paint colors. I'm like, oh wow.
I'm always impressed with those.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so now, once you have your center section, they're going to tell you that you need to do, in this particular pattern, a 3-inch cut. So not 3.5, but 3-inch cut. So I line this up. You want to get rid of all the unevenness on one side. And I just kind of line up the lines on my ruler with the seam. And I'm doing all right-handed today, cutting. So you want to flip it over, line it up, and you're going to keep on cutting, cutting, cutting all the way down. And it is a fast way of doing blocks.
Sure, rather than cutting all those individual squares.
Rather than cutting everything up. Okay, so once you've done that, we're going to take, and we need to put the sides on. So you can see on this one, it's a little different configuration than what I'm doing for color, but you can see it's the same 3, and then they use the lighter, but this one that I'm making is going to be the darker. Okay, so again, same exact way of putting the blocks together. And we're going to line this one up. And again, I'm just doing one block here, but you'd be doing it assembly line style.
And the book has you attach it to a solid strip and then cut it apart, or does it have you cut the strips?
That's what I did.
Never mind, you don't have to know what the book did, Pam.
Yeah, that's what I did. I lined it all up.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Impressive rotary cut.
Yeah, we're just gonna. There you go. So then you're gonna go and you're gonna take it and put it to the other side.
Sorry, didn't mean to throw a monkey in the works.
No. But like I said, I did all one side, and then I turned it around and did the other.
Okay. Well, that's a fast way of doing it.
Alrighty. So again, you're going to do your 1/4 inch. But remember, if you're doing this for the whole quilt, you would be doing assembly line style. So now at this point, just going to do a quick rotary cut, and I'm going to give it a press. And again, I'm going to press it towards the dark. Press this a little flatter while I have it. All right, so once we are done that, we need to clean up the edges so our blocks are all the same size. There we go. Flip it around, and we're going to do the same thing. All right, so ta-da!
Cute.
Cute.
I love it.
All right, so basically, how this one goes for the I'm on the last row. It alternates colors.
Mm-hmm.
And it alternates position. Can you see how the rectangles are going up?
Mm-hmm.
Rectangles are going across. So at this point, try to keep it the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to line this up and I just do a rough pin. I'm doing this so I can just keep them all together. I just do a rough pin, and then we'll go back and check to see if for some reason one block is bigger than the other. You always put the big block down, right?
Always sew with a big bottom.
Always sew with the big bottom. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing to our next block. Like I said, I always do a rough, get them pinned so you have the order that you need.
Particularly if you're laying them like on another table or on the floor of your studio, whatever. It's so easy to flip them.
Not me, I've never flipped them.
No, never.
May lightning not strike. All right, so I'm going to take a look-see. I have pressed them to the right, so we're going to press them to the left. I was looking at my seam allowance, and I just want to alternate. If you have one seam allowance pressed to the right, you want to go
On the next row, you should go to the left.
to the left. That way you can snug the seam allowances together. Okay, so I have that pressed. Okay, now I always put a little pin up in the upper left, so I know that's the first row.
Okay, gotcha.
But I have been going through some of my unfinished projects, and I have found pins that inadvertently
Or rusted in the fabric.
rusted in the project.
Yeah, well, you know, UFOs are like fine wine.
Yep.
You know, you got to age them until they're proper age.
That's what I keep telling myself.
But here's the thing. You've got them out and are working on them.
Yep. All right, so now I'm putting this last row, the bottom row, onto the quilt. And I'm just going to go, and again, put some pins in to get the edge together. You can clip, and I am going to put a quilt tack in as well, but I'm just kind of getting them lined up so they're there. Okay. Now with the quilt tack, remember you're just going to do a couple stitches before, a couple stitches after, so we can pull out easy if you need to. And we're just moving it along. And if you've staggered your seam allowance, you can also feel if it's laying flat. It was nestled together.
Yeah, sometimes it's a pain like thinking it out, but more the reward is fabulous, isn't it?
Yes.
It makes it go together so much better.
All right. So once we are done the quilt tacks, we want to take the time and take a look to make sure they're lined up as you wish. Yeah, they look good all the way along.
Yeah, they look fabulous.
Okay. Now, that's where you know you. If I was 1/32 of an inch off, I'd be like, yay, that's fine. Doesn't bother me in the least.
Nope.
No.
This quilt is not going into competition, huh?
Yes. But you know that if you are going to start to twitch or you go to that section, then pull it out and redo it. And that's the advantage of the quilt tack because it doesn't take much.
You don't have to pull the whole row out.
No. Yeah, it's kind of like when I knit. If I'm having to unpick a lot, nobody will see it. I'll just keep moving. Just keep moving quickly. All right, so again.
So it's like, with, oh, Pam has developed a nervous tick. No, she's just wearing that sweater.
Hey, it's true, but hey. All right, and also when you are going and doing the quilt packs, make sure you sew through them. We're going to sew through your quilt tags. Perfect. And done.
Nice.
Dun, dun, dun. Now, we're done piecing the center section. Now, this guy has borders. And if you take a close look, see, I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
There's a cornerstone in the thin border, and then there's a cornerstone on the outer border.
Yeah, they can kind of see it. The
Yeah.
color difference is
Sorry.
it's hard to see.
It's hard to see. All right. So, what you want to do, if you want to have these looking nice, you're going to measure. And don't do it right on the edge. I would encourage you not to do that because sometimes you can get stretching.
Mm-hmm.
So I always go a little bit down. The purist would say, you know, oh, we should go probably like in the middle of the quilt.
Uh-huh.
Good for them. Yeah, go for it. I am 38 1/4. All right.
38 1/4 it is.
38 1/4. Which, if you've never done borders with cornerstones, you're like, great, Pam. What does that actually mean? What that means is we're going to go, I pinned everything together so I wouldn't lose it. So see how small those cornerstones are going to be. They're going to be really cute.
Oh, sweet.
All right, so they're like 1.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to take our and we're going to do our, what was the number? 38 1/2.
38 1/2.
No, 38 1/4, you're right. Should have wrote it down. Woo! Pam, why is your 1/4 inch off? I don't know. All right, so we're going to measure 38 1/4. Let's put a pin in there. And then I'm just going to rotary cut. Now, would you need to rotary cut? Nope. Not if you brought your scissors with you. So, hence the reason for that. All right, so what's going to happen is then we're going to go and we're going to put the 2 cornerstones on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do that right now. And this is not something you can kind of pre-do. You know, sometimes
Because you have to take the actual
you
measurement
gotta
of the
take
quilt.
the actual measurement.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't want you to think, oh, great, I can, you know, get started on this part of my quilt.
Yeah, measure your own quilt. Don't go to your neighbor who's
Yes.
doing the same one and say, oh, what did you get?
Yes, yes, you got it. So you always want to make sure, yeah, you physically measure. Because we're all always perfect. I know, absolutely.
Always.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes it is helpful to. Technically, you're probably only going to be maybe 1/2 inch off, you know, if you go by the measurements of the quilt. But a 1/2 inch trying to ease in
Yeah.
is
Doesn't
not
give
easy.
you a flat look.
Nope. All right, so once you've done that, we are now going to go and we're going to make sure, we're going to sew the long sides first. All right. And I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to need to join this. So let's just line it up. Yep, I'm a little short. Story of life. So we're just going to go. Yep, looks good. So we're going to join this up. Remember, you want to get rid of your salvages. And I just sew them straight across.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about, you know, what you would do.
Do you press the seam open
I do.
just to minimize bulk?
Yeah. I do that. I don't sew at an angle like what I would do if I was joining binding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you tend to join them at an angle. I don't do that. There you go. All right, so I go over and I'm going to press my seams. One.
One seam.
One seam.
One 1.5 inch seam.
Yes, one seam. All right, line it up. And we're going to sew straight on down. So again, no big deal. I like the fact that it has kind of two borders to it. Kind of gives it a nice finished look.
Mm-hmm.
Though if you wanted it to be more of a modern quilt,
Could just leave it borderless.
could just leave it borderless, yep. This is also a good time to, I'm not known for pulling, you know, I have a pretty light touch when for fabric, but if you know.
Oh, okay.
I've known some students that they can stretch concrete. I don't know how they do it. So if you want to measure
And cut it to length.
That's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
But traditionally, if you have a fairly light touch, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't find that I measure a lot, you know. But again, you know you. If you can stretch concrete, pre-measure and put it in. How you know you are guilty of that is if you had a perfectly flat laying quilt, and then all of a sudden it looks like a saucer when you lay it down again, with everything kind of curved up ever so slightly. I can tell you, that never irons out.
No matter how much Mary Ellen's best press you put on it.
No matter how much Mary Ellen's best press you use. So, just trying to help you out a little bit. All right, we're getting down to the end here. So this was one long side. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other. All right, so we're going to have, again, put right sides together. I'm joining, because remember the long sides are longer than my width of fabric. So I'm joining that together. Just trimming off that salvage. You're going to press it open. Okay. So we have the side to do. And then I'm going to show you how to put the cornerstones on. All right, so again, we've done the one long side is already done, so we're going to go and do the second one. And again, when you come to where you've seamed, just try to get as flat as possible. So we have done that. We are now going to press the seam towards the border, and then we're going to cut. Alright, and we're going to pin the other side, or press the other side, I should say.
And when you press, you always press from the pretty side of the fabric so that
I
you
do.
don't get accordion pleats.
Yep, I do. Sometimes if I feel like my seam allowance, some part of it has gone one way or the other,
You flip it back.
I'll flip it back to press it, but I always like to do it. I figure if you like it enough to buy it, look at it. All right, so now we're gonna go and we are going to rotary cut. So we're gonna rotary cut, and you're gonna have 4 sections to do. And I have, over the years, I've learned to rotary cut this. A lot of times, especially if it's a small one, you're like, well, I can just cut that.
With scissors.
Oh, yeah, cut with scissors.
Corners aren't quite square.
Corners aren't quite square. Yeah, so it's always a little easier to just rotary cut. Okay, so now we are going to take and we are going to put the border on, and all we're going to do is we're going to press, sew this edge, quilt tack, and sew across. And cornerstones are done. And we will see you back. Remember, this has borders, 2 borders. So when you're working with it, what we've done here, you're going to do exactly the same all the way along. Hope you enjoy the project.